But if you guys want to mute yourselves just so we don't get background noise, because sometimes that happens. So there should be a little microphone in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And did you find it? Okay. Okay, so I just have a few things, and then really like unmute yourselves and interrupt me if you have questions, or there's a little chat feature. But I'm not always great at looking at the chat feature, so if I'm ignoring your chat question, just chime in. So I had a few things that I kind of put together to talk about, just kind of some basics on inviting and growing your contact list, because I feel like that's usually a pretty good place to start, and kind of where we all tend to get hung up, I think, because you start with like a ton of people, and then as the more you work through, you kind of like run out of people, and not running out of people is the key to kind of keeping your business going. So, so I just have a few things. I have 1 page of notes, so I don't think it should take me very long. So, and then we can just chat, and if it kind of brings up questions for you guys, then we'll just go from there. So just so you guys kind of know, Nicole's, correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, but Nicole's been a coach. She was a discount coach for like 2 years, and she's just now in the last few months kind of starting to jump back into everything, and really start to build her business a little bit. Emily signed up how many months ago? Like 5, 4, 6, something like that? 8? What are you saying? Several months ago. But she hasn't really been working the business because she was a first-year teacher and kind of overwhelmed, and life was happening. And so she's kind of just starting a little bit now. And then Shanna actually is signing up next week as a coach, but I told her she could jump on here and kind of get a little head start, so she could kind of see how things are working. So just so you guys know, so we're all kind of in different places, which is great. So if you have questions that don't feel like this is a dumb question, because everybody's experiences are a little bit different. And so sometimes it helps to hear questions that maybe hadn't occurred to you yet. And don't get overwhelmed if someone asks a question that, or I'm talking about stuff that you're like, I'm not there yet. Just like take what works for you and get rid of the rest, and don't let it overwhelm you if it's too much. I think that's kind of a good rule for learning things in general anyway. Okay, so first, just kind of a couple things that I kind of like to keep in my mind. So Danny Johnson is someone, Tiffany, who's my coach, kind of got some of us into Danny Johnson. She's like a network marketing, personal development kind of person. Like she does lots of speaking and presentations and stuff. And she has some really good stuff if you're looking for someone to listen to or stuff to learn from. Danny, D-A-N-I, she's great. So she says, be a part of the 2%, not the 98%. So just kind of some things to think about. So most of the population, so 98% of people are overworked, underpaid, not willing to kind of get out of their current situation. And so she says 98% of people are dead or dead broke by the age of 65. And I don't know that's like a real statistic, but that's kind of her thing that she usually says. And so you want to kind of try and just keep that in your mind to be a part of the 2%. So if you're doing different from what everyone else is doing, then you are probably doing the right thing that's going to get you to a successful place rather than get stuck like everyone else. So the biggest thing, I think people get overwhelmed a lot with, like where to start. I don't know how to talk to people. I don't want to be really salesy. And I think that kind of makes people get afraid and then not talk to people. And so that's kind of what I'm going to touch on. And then I'll get a little bit more into like some specifics of how to actually grow your list. So I put my notes in a weird spot. I'll put them in front of me so I'm not currently like always looking over to the side. Okay, so the biggest thing with that and how to not be salesy and not make your friends hate you because you're posting too much and like harassing them about Beachbody all the time is that you're working to establish relationships first. And then your business will follow that. And so if you're really working on building relationships. You may be slower to grow your business in the beginning because it takes time to kind of build relationships and build trust and get people to want to talk to you about things. But in the long run, it's going to pay off if you've taken the time to build those relationships. And kind of try and keep in mind, and you guys know this is why we're scared of being salesy and irritating. People aren't on social media to buy things, right? That's not why they're there. They're there to be social and to see what their friends are doing and to interact with people. And so that should be your goal, even when you're there on social to be in business. Your goal should be to be social and to build relationships. So you should be commenting on people's posts and sending people messages and just being a normal, friendly human being and talking to people rather than like blasting your whole page with Beachbody nonsense all the time. A good kind of rule of thumb is to have 20% of what you're posting be related to business and 80% of what you're posting being just your normal life and what you would have posted anyway. So if you're someone, some people say always like you need to post 3 to 6 times a day. You need to have, you need to have a like page. You need to do this. You need to do that. If you're doing nothing on social media, which basically was me before Beachbody, I was never posting almost anything. Sometimes I'd put some Instagram pictures of my kids up there, or kid, because I only had one. But if you're doing nothing, don't feel like you have to all of a sudden start posting like 7 times a day, because one, you're going to make everyone hate you, right? Unless you're really awesome. Some people are just really great at posting things and they're naturally have really valuable stuff. But if you're just putting tons and tons of stuff and spamming people just to put it up there, people are going to unfollow you and never want to look at anything. So don't feel like, oh, I'm starting to be a coach today, I have to start posting everything that's ever happening. You can kind of build to that. But you want to keep your ratios 80% your normal life, 20% Beachbody, which is kind of, I think, makes you relax a little bit about things because you don't feel like you have to be spamming everyone all the time. The other kind of key thing to remember is what you believe, and this kind of goes along with what you're posting and how your conversations work with people. What you believe, you'll project to other people. So if you have a belief in these products, which is why I became a coach and most of you guys became a coach, I think, as well. If you believe in these products and you really love them, that's going to come across. If you think Shakeology is way too expensive and you don't want to pay for it, that's going to come, you're going to have a really hard time telling other people that it's worth buying. You need to try and be positive. So one of the most effective things, and we don't need to get into tons of social media how-tos tonight unless you guys really want to, but one thing that's really effective to do is to share your story and your real life and the hard stuff that people can relate to, rather than just like, oh, everything at my house is fabulous all the time, because then people are like, who is this girl? She's not real. No one's life is this perfect. I hate her. I never want to see anything she's doing because it makes me mad. So it's good to share real struggles that you're having, but you want to be able to present them in a way that is positive at the end of whatever you're sharing, rather than just putting like, oh, my husband and I had a fight today, and like let people relate. Kind of use those experiences in a way that people can relate to them, but have a positive end. When I just was at Summit, Chalene Johnson was speaking, and I can't even remember what like her main topic was. But she said, if you're not the hero in your story yet, then it's not the right time to share it. So just kind of keep that in mind. I think if you're trying to share struggles or be vulnerable with things that have been hard or that you've learned from, make sure you've actually learned something from it first before you're just sharing the hard parts of it. Okay, so kind of getting into how to talk to people and how to invite. So when we say the 3 vital behaviors, and I know you guys are all in different places with your training and things, but so the 3 vital behaviors that we refer to a lot as coaches are be proof the products work. So you're actually following a program and you're drinking Shakeology, because it's hard to get other people to commit to those if you're not doing them yourself. So be proof the products work. Personal development, so you should be doing something to better yourself in some area of your life every day, because you can't help other people get better. If you're not improving yourself, you're just going to get drained. And then the third one, there's really kind of four lately, but the third main one is invite, invite, invite. And the reason that there are 3 invites is because you should always be inviting people, so if we're talking social media, like making more contacts on your page, but just basically like inviting people to be your friends. So you're making connections. So that's your first invite. Inviting people to be in a free group that you're running, to be in a challenge group, to try psychology or a sample of something else. And then inviting people to the coaching opportunity. And so you want to try to be constantly inviting people to something. So that's kind of one way to stay on top of things. You need to be consistent in that. So we usually say there's at least a 6-month delay on this business. So if it's hard at first, it's frustrating because you have to really be consistent for a while before you start really seeing the return on that. I didn't have anyone just like seeking me out without me inviting them for 6 to 9 months probably of being really consistent, posting every day, talking to people every day, making new contacts. I was still making connections and I was selling things and I was being successful that way, but I didn't have anyone seeking me out for quite a long time because they have to know. Some people are ready to trust you right away, and some people need to know that you're going to be around and that they can trust you, and it takes a little bit of time to build that up. Another thing kind of with the inviting is be okay with, this is kind of a new term I learned, but maybe it's a thing people say, but be okay and be ready to bless and release people. So if people aren't into what you're doing and they're not interested right now, be okay with that and don't burn that bridge, right? I have had tons of people that have said, I'm not ready now, and then they come back around. Shanna is one. Amy is another one, right? It took Amy, I think I invited Amy like to coaching, 3-4 times maybe. So Tiffany too. Tiffany was liking posts and following things on my fitness page for a long time before she decided to be in a challenge pack. To be in a challenge group. So just kind of keep that in mind, your own story. Don't give up and get angry with people and write them off and yell at them, or some people are crazy and they will like freak out when you get mad. So don't be irritating so you make people hate you, and don't be rude to people when they say no, because they very well may come back around. The other thing with that is just kind of make people aware that you're doing this whether or not they're with you. So not in a rude way, like, well, I don't care what you're doing, this is what I'm doing, but just let them know that what you're doing doesn't depend on them. You're not begging them to come along with you. You're here. This is what you're doing. You believe in it. It works for you. And if they want to do it with you, awesome. And if they don't, that's their own thing. And maybe sometime they'll want to. So how to start conversations with people. So if you're taking notes, write this down if it's new to you. So you're going to want to try to form people, F-O-R-M. If you're having a hard time kind of like, oh, I should connect with this person, but I have no idea like how to start a conversation. One good way is to Facebook stalk them a little bit so you can get a little bit of information about what they're doing, so you have some idea of questions to ask them about. So the F is for family. So this is how you should kind of start conversations and get people talking. Family. So especially if you, like a lot of us are in this like mom life now, right? And moms love talking about their kids. So if you start just kind of ask people about their kids, ask them about their husband or their boyfriend, or their brothers and sisters, if you know their family like that, start talking about their family. The second part of that conversation is about their occupation. So what did they do for work? What do they like that? Do they wish they did something else? What's their favorite part of their job? Questions like that. The third part is recreation. So what do they like to do for fun? And kind of further down the road, but some people like Danny Johnson has a whole thing on forming. And she'll kind of use this occupation and recreation part as like, oh, do you like your job? Oh, what do you like about it? And then kind of be taking notes, right? Or mental notes. If they love talking to people, they love that they get the part of their job where they get to help people a lot. kind of just keep those in your mind as things that kind of relate back to coaching. So you have that and you know what their strong suits are, what they like. And then same with recreation. Her thing is she'll say, oh, do you get to do that a lot? Do you get a lot of time to go camping with your family? And people will say no. And her example is always right. No, I never get to do that because I always have to be at work. So that's another like, oh, well, let me tell you about this great opportunity I have where you can potentially be in more control of your life with your job, blah, blah, blah. And then the M is your message. So that's when you're sharing an invitation or telling them about what you're doing, but you're taking that whole 3/4 of this talking to people conversation is asking them questions about them, and that's key. So you want another little phrase is be more interested than you are interesting. So people love talking about themselves. And the more you can ask questions and talk to people and get them talking to you about their life, the more they're going to trust you and know and think, I guess, depending on how sincere you're being, that you care about them. So ask people lots and lots of questions about their own life. Don't be weird and like not answer questions about your own life if they're asking them back. But you always want to try and lead back with a question so that they are always talking. Let's see. Ask people for referrals. That's another kind of invite. So if people are into it or if they're not, it's really pretty easy to say like, oh, okay, I understand this isn't a great time for you right now, but do you know anybody else that you think might be interested? And people are really willing to give you names of other people. Whether or not those other people want you to contact them could be another story, but people usually are pretty willing, which I kind of jumped, but I wanted to talk into a little bit more because I know, Nicole, sorry, kind of dragged this out for you, but you were kind of asking about how to build your contact list and build a following. So I have a couple little things on that, and then we can kind of just chat or go over questions if you guys have it. So inviting is huge, right? You can post all day long till the cows come home, and you can have fantastic content. But if you're not actually reaching out and making the effort yourself to invite people and talk to them, you're going to have really a very few amount of people that come to you asking for things. So you need to have a list that you're working from, and you need to talk to people. So the number one thing, and this is in the training, and I posted it, I think, in the Team Cup group, but if I didn't, tell me and I will, is the memory jogger. So the idea with the memory jogger, it basically is a list of like every single noun for every type of person you could have ever met. So it's like goes through like family, uncle, aunt, cousin, brother, sister, mother, dad, grandparents. And then it goes through like every occupation you could ever think of. So you're just supposed to look at the list and then write down pretty much every person you've ever met in your whole life, basically, is this list. So you have a huge list that you're starting from, and then you can pick 10 people a week that you feel comfortable talking with. So some people you'll feel comfortable inviting your first month because they're your really close friends. You already have a relationship with them. They're not going to think you're only talking to them because you want to sell them Beachbody, right? So if you want, try and start 10 people and then maybe pick 10 people that you know are going to be your next couple and start a conversation with them that has nothing to do with Beachbody. So you're kind of always in a conversation. So you're being friendly, making connections, and not just being weird. You don't have to necessarily be having 10 conversations with people going on at the same time because that gets a little bit hard to manage, but a few people a week, you're kind of building some new connections. So memory jogger is one. The other thing, sorry, my notes are all over the place in here now. Your second thing is be constantly expanding that list. So you go through at one point and you write down every single person you ever think of. And then try to, and on Facebook, this is pretty easy. If you write, some people aren't going to come to your mind, like everyone you ever went to high school with isn't going to just pop into your mind when you write that list. But one really easy way on Facebook is to go through your friends' mutual friends. So like if I was already friends with Emily on Facebook, but I wasn't friends with most of the other volleyball players at UNCW, then I know we probably have a few mutual friends that I can go through. So I go to Emily's Facebook page, I click on her friends, And then I go through and see like, oh yeah, I know this person, I'm going to friend them. And so that's a really good way. I think when I started coaching, I think I had like 300 friends on Facebook or 250 or something. And I have like 2,000 almost at this point, 1,700, something like that. And most of those people I really know. Some of them, like we have 25 mutual friends, and so I just friend them. And I just recently, I haven't been good about this, but I have some scripts and things I can share with you guys. But I just recently have kind of started like, okay, this is how I can start a conversation with that person that I have 25 mutual friends with, but I don't have any idea who they are. People are actually pretty responsive most of the time to being social and making friends, because that's why people are on social media. So they're open to it if you're not being a weirdo that's just trying to sell them stuff. So your goal should be to try to add 2 to 3 people a day to your contact list. Not that you have to be talking to or building relationships with or inviting, but just adding those people to your list. And this doesn't have to be just social media. Kind of a third thing on my list here is raise your awareness, right? So pay attention to who you're meeting every day and make connections. Ask people their names, find a mutual connection that you guys have. It's really kind of common sense social skills, but I think most of us get really busy and we are trying to just like pick up our dry cleaning and get the heck out of there rather than like make a new friend and have a conversation with someone. So try to just kind of be aware of people that you're meeting so that you can make a connection with them now or later. And we actually, when we were at Summit, so we were taking Ubers everywhere and like just, you're in the car for 15 minutes. So we would start talking to all these Uber drivers. And it was kind of amazing. I think more than once, Tiffany and I were in the car together because we were staying in the same place. And the conversation would happen and we would learn kind of about their businesses and what they'd retired from and why they were being an Uber driver. And the conversation would naturally go to some connection that we wanted to follow up with. And we would say like, oh, what's your name? Let me look you up on Facebook. And it was natural. It wasn't like I'm being a creeper and I want to sell you stuff next week. We had actually made a connection about like this guy that owned some Airbnbs, or Tiffany was talking to one girl that she wanted to share some books that had been really helpful to her with this other driver. So just ask people questions, learn about them, and then learn how you can make that connection. Number 4 is never prejudge. So it's really easy, I think, because it kind of makes us feel protected and like we have an excuse to not talk to people, to prejudge them and say, like, they're not going to be into this. Oh, they're making tons of money. They don't need another job opportunity or, career opportunity. Oh, they're already really fit. They're probably not interested in this program at all because they're already doing CrossFit. Don't prejudge and assume people aren't going to be into it just because of whatever you are thinking in your head. It's really fine to invite everyone. People might surprise you. There are really successful Beachbody coaches that have like super successful, you say hi? Super successful like medical practices. There are like $1 million earners in this business that are also MDs and that are also attorneys. Or have given up law practices to be a Beachbody coach because, they were making a lot of money, but they weren't happy and they didn't love it. So don't prejudge and be afraid to kind of put opportunity out there, because you never know, even if someone seems really successful and like they love what they're doing to you, they maybe really want to be trying something different. And then number 5 is network on purpose. So this can go for social media or real life, but be seeking out opportunities where you can meet more people. So like Emily with your races, that's probably like a really easy way. You could just talk to other people that are at races with you. And I mean, those people are super into doing fitness things, right? So that's like, that could be huge. Or volunteer groups, doing things with your church. You can find groups on Facebook for just about everything. So kind of think about some issues or interests that you have, and you can find Facebook groups and pick up new hobbies. You can take classes and things. And get out of your house. And if it's just social, then you don't have to get out of your house, I guess, but social media. But try new things and make it a point to be making those new connections, not just to sell, but to genuinely build relationships and meet new people and learn from other people. And yeah, so that's my whole page of notes, minus, a few things that I feel like maybe we didn't need to get to. So do you guys have, first of all, was that, you can unmute yourselves if you need to, want to, you don't have to. Helpful, more overwhelming? Did I just throw too much at you guys? Do you have questions about anything I talked about or other not related things? Amy, did you have stuff to share? Because I know I asked you to bring all that stuff that we went over on that call a long time ago. If you don't have it, it's fine.
I can't find it.
If you feel like I left anything out that was huge, feel free to chime in.
I get it all.
I'm pretty awesome like that. Nicole, your little phone icon is lighting up. Did you have anything?
Oh, I think it's just because I moved my phone. I was just thinking, like, my small town background is really going to kick me in the tail because it's, you talk about, if you had somebody else, then, if you have 25 friends, then you probably know that person too. It's like, yeah, I can name every person in my graduating class and in my entire high school because there's so few of them. And if I'm not friends with them, I hate them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like, even just that referrals thing, I think can be huge. So I've heard this statistic before that, like, every person knows at least 1,000 people that you don't know. So, it's just asking for referrals, I think sometimes is hard to do, but I think that can be a really helpful thing as well. And then I think another thing do you live in a small town still, Nicole?
No, I'm in Metro Atlanta, so it's pretty big.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. So, it might just be big, and I know it's hard because we have jobs and kids and all kinds of other responsibilities, but finding other hobbies or interest groups or things where you can go actually meet people might be helpful. Oh, this is telling me we only have 10 minutes left of my meeting because I don't have the paid version. So yeah, that's hard. But I bet if you sit down and write down every person you know, that you have more than you think.
Okay. Doesn't feel like I know many.
Did I put the memory jogger in this group? Have you guys all at least seen that somewhere?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Anybody else?
I think that was very helpful. I think that's what I was stuck on. I didn't know how to connect to people because I'm not super social, so that's just something I should probably work on anyway.
I think it's hard, and I know all of you guys pretty well, right? And when I know people well, I never stop talking. But I think it's hard for me sometimes to kind of come out of that. I don't like going to parties, and it is not fun for me to be in a room full of people I don't know and just start conversations. That's not my normal where I'm comfortable. And so I think just some of that awareness and thinking I should be trying to talk to people. Another thing I've heard, I think this was probably Shalene Johnson because I listen to her all the time. Whoever said this said, if you focus in a conversation on trying to make the other person feel as comfortable as possible, you'll forget about how uncomfortable you are, and that social situation will get better. So I think that kind of most social things being good at social stuff kind of comes back to not thinking about yourself, right? To think about what's going on with the other person. So kind of just taking yourself out of the picture and really making them feel comfortable and accepted and you care about them can go a long way in making those connections a little bit easier, I think. Yeah. Hi, Aiden. Anybody?
I feel like I'm missing a show since I'm only on the telephone and not on the video.
You're missing my son being crazy and Shanna's baby's waving at us.
Excellent.
Anything else? Sorry, I know
That's the bonus of it being 10 o'clock at night at my time. My kids are sleeping.
I know. Well, I think all of you, well, Tiffany's not on the East Coast, but I think Shanna's not either. I can just think of you as an East Coaster, Shanna. That's funny. I don't know why. You've been on the West Coast for a long time. So I guess we're like half and half on here. Okay. Anybody, anything else?
No.
Okay. And you guys, just so you know, especially some of you guys that are newer or just getting into stuff, Nicole, this goes for you too, I guess, but you have your own upline people that are fabulous. But if you guys ever feel like you have specific questions and you want to have a one-on-one just with me to kind of go over stuff, I am super open to doing that. So just let me know and we can schedule those whenever it works. So.
Okay.
Okay, that's kind of all I've got. Sorry, what? Oh, I thought someone said something. Okay.